Well, we had a little bit of breaking news last night as far as the shutdown goes. First of all, we've entered now record territory. This is like the longest in American history. And also, now, I think we've reached the point where everybody is affected. Everybody was affected before, but you didn't feel it. But now that flights are affected, I think you've got every segment of the population now feeling the pain of this thing. Which is why I'm going to explain why personally, and you got to make your own choice. Personally, I think it's time to, trying not to swear, F the filibuster. And Trump convinced me yesterday, because I was one of these people yesterday that, even up to yesterday, before I heard him say this, was like, well, you don't want to change the voting rules because those guys aren't going to be in power forever. And once the other guys are in power, then they're just going to do the same thing to them. And then there's no pushback. There's no checks and balances. And I don't know why it took me so long to realize until I heard him explain it. They're going to do that anyway. The proof is right before our eyes. They're shutting down the country and now even affecting flights. You don't think they're capable of political revenge once they get power, which is going to happen. It's just the natural order of things. That's the way things happen. I'm completely in favor of screwing over the filibuster and getting rid of this thing, and we'll go over that in just a second. But first of all, thanks for finding Wicked Radio and the live stream pod, which lives on as a replay. Thanks for the follows and likes and shares and downloads and audio podcasts, too. Don't forget, whatever platform you like to get those on. Let's get right to it. This is the breaking news last night. This is why I think now, even the people, it might have been you, who are saying that, I don't can let it shut down. Maybe the government's running better with a shutdown. Now I think we've officially crossed the Rubicon. We've now reached that point where everybody is affected, and the anger is built up to a point where they're going to have to
tonight,
get something
perhaps the most significant fallout from the government shutdown so far is being announced this evening. The Federal Aviation Administration says it will reduce air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume locations beginning Friday. Again, that's the...
Now, here's the thing, and this is just human nature. I mean, it's like you can't blame people for this, but this is what really affects people. The FAA and the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, has been saying before, he's been saying for now 2 weeks, he says, look, we're at the point now where because of air traffic controllers and aviation officials who are not getting paid, this is a safety issue now. He's been stomping up and down to whoever would hear him, and he says, this is a safety issue. We are what we are. We're 1 ear in, 1 ear out. It's just the way we are. That didn't really affect us. Canceling flights, vacation, holiday, and family plans, that's where we get pissed off. It's just the way we are. Nobody's to blame. It's just the way we are. Now people are getting pressure on your local favorite politicians to get this thing over with. It's done. Forget it. Now we finally reached that point. So that was the breaking news last night. This is the guy that convinced me. We'll get into the background of it in the civics lesson, of course, and a reminder for all of us about this filibuster thing. But this is what Trump said about the shutdown yesterday, and his argument, and he's had meetings with all the senators to get rid of this filibuster thing. This is what he said yesterday. And he convinced me.
If I thought that they weren't going to pass the filibuster, I wouldn't even bring it up. They're going to pass it within the first hour. If they take power, and it's more likely that they take power if we don't do it, because we're not going to be passing any legislation. They're not going to approve anything. We're going to go 3.25 years. There won't be one bill that we're going to pass. Because the easiest thing to pass is exactly right now what they won't pass. And they'll do that, and they'll wreak havoc. But let's assume they get it. They're doing it anyway, so it wouldn't matter. They're doing it anyway. And, I have a case where I have great U.S. attorneys that can't be approved because of the blue slips. The blue slips, I think you should terminate blue slips, too. It's a mental termination because it's really a custom.
Yeah, I'm in that camp now. I'm not afraid to admit it. I was just like that until I heard him say that yesterday. I was debating it back and forth, and I was switching back and forth saying, yeah, but you don't want to get rid of the pushback where, 60 votes in the majority can stop this, but they're going to do it anyway. They were willing to shut down the country, affect everybody, inflict pain, and then, of course, blame it on the other side. Of course, they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to get rid of this filibuster rule. Why not just do it now and get things passed? For a couple different reasons, like he said right there. This administration is going to have to start passing all these ideas they have, especially about affordability for young people. A lot more on that in just a couple of minutes. They've got to get that done. If they don't get that done, they're going to get wiped out in the midterms because people know they want to feel it. They want to feel these changes that they've talked about. They can, but they're getting blocked every time they do it. The second thing is you've got to get this thing done like right now. People are feeling the pain. This is now a dangerous situation, like with the flights, and I mean that. Now, what does it mean? What does it mean to nuke the filibuster? Why do I say F it? Well, it's a system built in place for checks and balances, where the minority party can push back on this and block something like the continuing resolution bill to fund the government. They can, if they have the votes to block this thing, they can. To nuke the filibuster and get rid of it is you change the procedural rules, and all you do is vote to change it in the Senate to make sure that it's a simple majority would pass things like the continuing resolution bill. That's just what it means. So you create another vote to get rid of the rule that allows you to block this thing with a filibuster. That's all. But the danger has always been, that comes with payback because they're going to do the same thing to you. But we've reached a point, like Trump said, and I've been saying, we're there anyway. They're willing to shut down the country. They're willing to do whatever they have to do. They're willing to lie, cheat, and steal. It doesn't matter. And if you do this, and here's my main reason personally, you got to have your own reasons. Nobody's here to tell you what to do. My main reason is if they are able to pass voter ID laws and get rid of and institute same-day balloting, same-day voting, that's what I want to get done. And they would never be able to do that with the way the rules are in place right now. So I'm all in favor of it. I think it's time. Get rid of it. Absolutely get rid of it and start making some positive impacts for this country. That's what I'm in favor of. Or you have something like what we saw in New York this week. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. We already did that yesterday on the communist, jihadist, socialist mayor that's in New York City right now. But going back to Trump for a second, now that first speech was at the White House celebrating, and he did that all day yesterday. The one-year anniversary of the most consequential election in American history. And he might have been right. And then last night he went to the Economic Forum in Miami, and he talked about many of the same things, but he also did something that's very important. This is why this guy is so persuasive. This is why he's so effective in getting things done. Everybody loves to criticize the name calling. Yeah, that's part of it. I get it. Everybody loves to, they don't think he's a well-polished speaker, which I don't think is true at all because he always makes his point across, and he's an entertainer. This guy has had literally thousands of rallies now with nothing else backing him. No band, no nothing else, and can entertain people for hours while talking about important stuff. But his most effective gift, I think, is his branding. The guy's a marketer. He doesn't come from the political world. He's in it now, but he comes from the business world, and he brands things. And he just branded Mondami exactly how we all have to do it and push back to it. This was brilliant. And one quick, simple little phrase.
After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. Does that make sense to you? Common sense. It's common sense or communism.
That's what it is. I mean, that's what we've all been looking for. That's how I'm going to brand it. Something amazing did happen this week. We tried to talk about the positives of the New York City election, the mayoral election here. This is another one here. You know what you're not going to hear so much? You still will, but much less these days? Left versus right. Blue versus red. Democrats versus Republicans. As they try to put everybody in labels. When most of us are right here, just about in the middle, but a little right of center. That's where most of the country is. You, me, and everybody else. Just common sense. Now we can finally say it. Now it's something you can wrap your head around, and this is how we can describe it. Well, aren't you? You're against that? That's how you feel politically? No, I'm just common sense. And that's all it is. It comes down, how can you vote for that fascist? No, I'm just common sense versus criticism. I'm team common sense. That's all it is. That's how all of us have to push back on this and these crazy, crazy times. That's how you respond. That's how you respond to it. And he just labeled it right there. And and now I see it everywhere. That's what it is now. This isn't blue-red. This isn't donkeys versus elephants. This is common sense, normal, everyday, hardworking Americans versus communists. It's the best of all his labels as he's ever laid out. That's his best one. It's because we can use it. You can use that in your everyday life today. Who are you going to vote for? Common sense. Well, who is that? Well, who? Well, I don't know yet. Whoever brings the most common sense for Americans. That's my team. Brilliant. Perfect. Now, how about the other team? How about the other side? I know I'm breaking my promise. I know at the end of the pod yesterday, I promised you I wasn't going to talk about this guy as much, but just give me this one. Just that this was, oh my God, this was so rich. Mamdani, in less than 24 hours, started asking for money already. Just let me, I got to play this for you. Again, the timeline. This is less than 24 hours after getting elected. He held a press conference asking for donations. I won't mention him a lot, but this is perfect.
Thank you for the question. It's transition2025.com. And, there were a few months ago where I told supporters across this city to stop donating. And today I am asking them to start once again. And I am asking them to do so because of the fact that a transition that can meet the moment of preparing for January 1st is one that will require staff, it will require research, it will require...
Again, less than 24 hours, he's asking for money already. You fools, you absolute fools. But okay, it is what it is. This is what you voted for. They wow. Okay, but how's it happen? I'm done with him. But how's it happen? I think we all kind of came to this point. A lot of us had this national discussion. We did in my family. We had a big discussion about this. Like, how does it happen? How do so many young minds, in the case of New York City, how do they turn to this thing? A lot of it is, and what we came to the decision was, yeah, you can blame the media, you can blame the education system that have taught you, communism's good, it's great. And they've heard this their whole lives, and now they're in college. Now they live in New York. Now they live everywhere. So if you don't think this can happen in other cities, you're crazy, because the main element here is they don't feel like they're part of the economy. Less than 30% of people, I call them kids now, under 35, less than 30% own a home. That's really bad. They don't feel like they have a shot. Talk to somebody that's young. Talk to a millennial or a Gen Zer. They don't think they're ever going to own a home or some property or investments or stocks or anything or be part of the economy in what we always love to call the American dream. They don't feel like they're part of it. It's been building that way because of the national debt and inflation for years, but also President Mushbrain, which we're still trying to climb out of, his economy just wrecked everything. That was a big part of this thing as well. So we're trying to climb out of that, which is why, that's how the bad stuff happens. That's why, a Mamdani happens, because they turn to him because they have, cluelessly, they think that's their best option. And here he is begging for money already. But more importantly than that, these people in the Republican team are going to get wiped out like they did Tuesday night if they don't start to get things done and start to make this country and this life affordable, and this way of life affordable for young people again, because they're going to completely reject them. And let me tell you something, people my age and your age too are going to do the exact same thing. So this is why I was so glad to hear that there's a focus on affordability for this coming rate, which goes back to that filibuster again. They got to the only way they can get this thing done and enact some of the programs they're talking about is to get rid of that filibuster and pass some of their deals while they can. Here's the first piece of good information. According to Politico, which is no friend of this administration, they reported this, which tells you it's true. Trump to focus on affordability, here's that word, next year. White House advisor tells Politico. Oh, that's good news, because that's not just your prices at Publix or Kroger or wherever you shop. That's not just Thanksgiving. Affordability, in a capital A, that means home ownership and property ownership. Followed up by this. So there was another event last night. This was at Auburn University. Turning Point USA is still holding events, and they have a lot of Charlie Kirk's, God rest his soul, friends, helping him out with this. A lot of administration officials, other people speaking about this. They're keeping the events going. There's one organization on the conservative side of things that the libs absolutely are it scares the bejesus out of them, because this organization gets people to vote, gets young people to vote. So now, follow up that report in Politico about the administration talking about affordability, and all of a sudden you see that word all over the place these days, and that's a good thing. This is what you should support, and reach out to them and tell them this is so big for you, me, and everybody else, and your kids. Now, the event last night, this is one of those friends of Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson. You've heard me talk about him. He's a podcaster who's a friend of Charlie Kirk, but he's a big part of Turning Point now because they want to keep this going. Listen to what he said. Why is this important? Because they have the ear of this administration. Trump listens to them a lot. This is an organization that reaches out to young Americans, Gen Z and millennials. And they're talking about home ownership This is massively, massively important, what he said last night. Here's Benny Johnson at
Final
Auburn.
thing I'm going to say here is that in the Constitution it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of property in certain other instances. And that's something that we've lost in this country. I'm particularly horrified that the American dream of owning a home is so out of reach for all of the young people here. If you are 35 and younger, home ownership rates are at 30%. That's down by half from a generation ago. And we need to fix that. Who here wants to?
So what are they doing? They're coming up with and helping the administration, which they probably are anyway, develop plans to help young people get into homes, loans, affordability, helping out with the housing market. This is incredibly important to all of us, not just them. And if you're thinking, well, I don't have kids, I don't care, I've got my home, and I know it does affect you. Because if enough of those kids don't feel like they're part of the economy, you have New York spreading across the country is what you have. This is important for all of us. And by the way, it's just the right thing to do, to have younger generation kids feeling like they at least have a shot in this economy. And I'm telling you, I swear to you, as I hear it every single day, right now, they don't feel they do. This is massively important, and it's massively important to support that affordability word for you to make your voices heard, and me as well, to make sure the administration keeps on pushing this. This should be the focus of all of next year and the rest of the administration, or we're done. This is it. This is the most important issue. So it's really good news that that Turning Point organization, first of all, is still there, and secondly, is putting the pressure on the administration to make homes affordable for their audience, which are young kids. Hugely important. This is great. You should take this as great news. It's excellent because they do listen to them. So, a couple of good pieces. And watch out for watch that affordability word now that you're aware of it and what it really means. Home ownership, not just gas and grocery prices. You're going to see it everywhere coming up soon, and it's good. All right, let's lighten things up a little bit. I didn't expect this to happen so soon, but it's happening. So I don't know if we've all figured out what the impact of AI is going to be. You've got the tech nerds up there. I don't mean nerds. I mean just, they know it better than normal people like you and I do. Talking about the dangers of AI, and mostly what they're talking about is, first they talked about automation and taking jobs. I get that. But then they talked about, the control of information, and I get that too. But on a user level, just everyday stuff, I can't begin to tell you how much I've used ChatGPT and Grok for things. Not just information, like a lot of different things, and it's fantastic. Whether it's either quick reference or helping, reword something or rewrite something, or maybe a marketing plan and something, or bouncing ideas off that. Because what they do is you can, it's like, what do you think about this for a marketing tagline? And based on all the information that's out there online, Grok or ChatGPT or somebody else will say what's worked and what's bad. It's fantastic. It's great for that kind of stuff. I know it has a bad side, but we shouldn't try to kill off, not that we could, no, we shouldn't try to kill off the idea of AI at all. But there's one, I think we found the area where people are pushing back the most. I think we found it. And it's through the Coca-Cola Christmas ad, which is out already. I know, it feels early. I know, I get you. Since early October, we've had stores stocked with Christmas trees and Christmas items. I get it. It's happening earlier and earlier. But the Coca-Cola Christmas ad this year is also done with complete AI generation, like they did last year, but they've doubled or tripled down on it this year, and their explanation has tripled down as well. I know this is mostly a visual, I get it, but at least you're just an audio. If you're an audio-only listener, you can at least hear what part of the commercial is. But this is what has everybody so upset. Man, the backlash is... No, it's got Coke trucks and otters and polar bears and, Christmassy things and the music and all this other stuff. If you spend any time whatsoever online reading comment sections, I don't recommend it, or reading backlash to this kind of thing, people are pissed. Like, shockingly so. Way more than I would have thought of. And I tried to ask myself why there's such a backlash against this. I think the area... when we're all learning this in the digital age and what AI is going to mean to us, I think people are okay with it with technology and helping out as long as it serves a purpose. I think they hate it in advertising, especially with advertising with something like, this traditional Christmassy kind of stuff because people love it. They love these Coke ads. They love the nostalgia of Christmas and holidays. This is the one that has the pushback. This is where people are pissed off at this. I mean, look at some of the comments and reaction that Coke is getting on this, and their ad agencies are getting. They are like livid, but they're not backing down. So this has made it to Variety and Entertainment Weekly and all these other entertainment organizations and discussing film. The company is not backing down at all. Listen to this. They say they used even fewer people to make this one this year. Okay, so the entertainment people are like, oh, you're taking more jobs. Here's the statement from Coca-Cola. Are you ready? We need to keep moving forward and pushing the envelope. The genie's out of the bottle, and you're not going to put it back in. Wow. That's an interesting statement from Coca-Cola. So they're not backing down at all. And you know what? You know why they're doing it, because they cut down on costs. So it costs a lot less money, and they can crank this thing out. But I don't know. Doesn't bother me either way. I think it's okay. But I think what we're learning, and I think what these marketing companies are learning, is the pushback is happening when you mess with people's nostalgia. And probably for smaller companies like mom and pops, if you use AI-generated marketing on like social media stuff, I think that's going to have a negative effect. We're still at the point, maybe not too much longer, where you can see what's AI-generated and people hate it in advertising. They hate it until it gets better, or we're so beaten down that we're just used to it. But man, if you want a good laugh and an eye-opening experience, look at some of the backlash to this new Coke ad. People are livid. It doesn't look like Coke's backing down anytime soon. Biggest takeaway? Remember that tagline. This is what you use. This is the most beautiful thing of all. People love to give you a hard time because you simply have common sense. You know, they're calling you some sort of an extremist. This is your line. And the president just tagged it yesterday, last night in Miami. No, I'm just common sense versus communism. That's what. Perfect. And watch for that backlash against Coke and AI. It's only going to grow. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Love you. Download, share, all that good stuff. I don't know. Even audio podcast listeners, whatever platform you like to get those on. It's just subscribe on Spotify. It's that's how they do theirs. Otherwise, this lives on as a replay. It's Thursday. It's Friday Junior. We're getting closer. Make it a wicked awesome Thursday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.